Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 91 based on novel. So let's start. Night, like a black curtain, quietly shrouded over the cold emerald city. Broken stars like silver sand dotted the empty sky. A bright moon hung high in the sky and sprinkled a piece of snowlight to illuminate the whole cold emerald city in the night. Union Pavilion, Xiao Yan and others sit in it and occasionally talk and laugh. The atmosphere can be regarded as relaxed and happy. Suddenly, Luo Ao, who was talking freely, seemed to suddenly think of something. His stretched eyebrows immediately wrinkled slightly, and immediately looked up at Xiao Yang. Seeing Luo Ao's strange eyes, Xiao Yang couldn't help but be stunned. Then he smiled and said to Luo Ao, "Old Luo has something to say to the younger generation? If so, don't be polite. Just say it directly." At the smell of the speech, Laro Luo frowned and nodded. His eyes gestured to Zhong Yi. The latter suddenly understood in his heart and nodded. His body disappeared in the attic in a burst of peristalsis. Seeing this, Luo Ao nodded with satisfaction. His eyes fell on Xiao Yang. His old face showed a solemn color, and said in a deep voice, "Yes, I really have something to tell you. It's related to the Shunling family." Huh! As soon as Luo Ao's voice fell, Xiao Yang couldn't help but be a little surprised, and his heart was awe-inspiring. Isn't the matter of the spirit clan solved? Why did something happen again? Thinking like this in his heart, Xiao Yang's face gradually changed into a heavy one. Xiao Yang has always had a good feeling for the Shunling family. Now when he hears of an accident in the Shunling family, Xiao Yang will inevitably worry about it. On the other hand, Luo Jin, who heard the accident of the Shunling family, couldn't help opening his eyes at the moment. At the moment, he recalled the worried look on the latter's face when he saw Luo Ao leave in the past 6 months. "Luo Laro, Shunling clan, what happened again?" Xiao Yang frowned and asked in a deep voice. His tone revealed his concern. "Boy, do you remember Ebony?" Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly coagulated. It was because of that guy that he had some subtle connections with Luo Ao and Shunling family. Xiao Yang will not forget, besides. With this in mind, there was an extremely obscure dark orn in the deep pupil of Xiao Yang's eye. In this short moment, even Luo Ao had not found it. Last time he died at your hands, which is the result we all want to see. His death can be regarded as eliminating a major hidden danger for the Shunling family. At the same time, it also ended an old affair of the Shunling family. Luo Ao said without delay. Xiao Yang and Luo Jin listened without God or God. But the sudden pause made Xiao Yang and Luo Jin raise their eyes and look at Luo Ao. Then the latter spoke again and said, "Just 6 months ago, Aoki inadvertently found an amazing thing after entering the Shunling space." Next, Luo Ao told Xiao Yang exactly what Aoki had found. The latter frowned and looked surprised. After a long time, it seemed that Xiao Yang had digested these sudden information. Xiao Yang frowned and nodded, stared at Luo Ao, and said in a deep voice, "That is to say, according to the faint breath in the ginseng root, Haimu didn't die completely?" Luo Ao nodded. This is what he wanted to show Xiao Yang. As long as Haimu still has a trace of breath, even if it is weak, he must not take it lightly. But since the ginseng spirit root is in the hands of Elder Qingmu, isn't it that as long as the ginseng spirit root is destroyed, Blackwood will be finished? How can it be dragged to the present? Thinking for a moment, Xiao Yang couldn't help asking again. The Shunling root is the lifeblood of the Shunling people. As long as the Shunling root is destroyed, it is equivalent to taking its life. Why should he make trouble again? Luo Ao knows this more than Xiao Yang. He won't be unaware of it. But when Luo Ao heard the speech, he shook his head helplessly, sighed and said, "At first, Aoki originally planned to do so, but later, he reluctantly gave up." Xiao Yang frowns. Is there another reason? After my exploration with Qingmu, that small piece of Shunling root has no effect. In addition to being able to know life and death like a soul jade card, Haimu's soul has long been separated from it. Even if the Shunling root is destroyed, it can no longer cause any damage to Haimu. Hearing this, Xiao Yang suddenly understood that, in this way, today's Haimu guy, I'm afraid he's still pursuing the method of resurrection with only the remaining remnant souls. With this in mind, Xiao Yang's mouth couldn't help raising a sneer of ridicule. This really responds to that sentence. The more powerful he is, the more he is greedy for life and afraid of death. It seems that the brave are fearless and unmatched. In fact, he is timid and reluctant to give up. However, after Xiao Yang recovered, he couldn't help showing a strange look on his face. He looked at Luo Ao and asked in a strange tone. Luo Lao, you don't think that guy's ghost is in my body? Ha ha ha, at first, I was really worried about it, so I went back and forth several times to find out if the ghost of that guy was hidden in your body. Fortunately, I didn't find out. That guy shouldn't be in your body, so I'm relieved. When he heard the speech, Luo Orton couldn't help laughing and was exposed by a word, which made the cheerful old man a little embarrassed for a time. But in a flash, Luo Lao raised his head again, looked at Xiao Yang again, and looked serious, which made Xiao Yang not only slightly pick his eyebrows, but also secretly said in his heart, which is he going to play? Although I haven't detected any breath of Haimu in your body, maybe it's not because he's not in your body, but for another reason. Xiao Yang's face suddenly stagnated when his low voice fell. Luo Jin on one side also looked suspiciously at the two people in front of him. His face showed helplessness. The next moment, before Xiao Yang could speak, Luo Ao suddenly shouted and said, "Unless you are Blackwood." When the cry fell, Xiao Yang and Luo Jin were stunned. They were speechless. It was not until a long time later that Luo Ao laughed and pulled back their stagnant thoughts. Ha ha ha, okay, I won't joke with you. After my exploration, it has been proved that you are not Blackwood, so don't worry, I won't peel you and cramp you, ha ha ha. Smelling the speech, Xiao Yang and Luo Jin looked at each other expressionless. They kept turning their mouths in their hearts. They really explored Xiao Yang. Hey, come on, don't tangle. It was just a joke. I'll make you nervous. Old Luo He smiled, revealing a bad smell in his smile, which is the existence of an old urchin. Hearing Luo Lao's words, Xiao Yang and Luo Jin also glanced at the old man in front of them. Nervous? There's no tension. That's contempt for what he said. Okay. Well, I also said what I should say and what I should remind. I am also alert. Remember, everything should focus on my own life, otherwise, any rare treasure is empty. I understand. Xiao Yang nodded. Naturally, he was very clear about this. He had seen many people who died in the word greed. For his own sake, he would not make the same mistake again. Well, since you understand, I won't say anything else. Finally, I'll warn you that the people here are really like wolves and tigers. If you want to live, you can't rely on fighting skills and strength alone. The next day, in the cloud-hidden pavilion, Luo Lao and Luo Jin stood out among them. Luo Jin looked at Xiao Yang with heavy luggage in front of him. His face showed an extremely reluctant look. The corners of his lips trembled and seemed to be about to cry. His white palm patted Xiao Yang on the shoulder. After a long time, Luo Jin said in a low voice, "Brother Xiao, goodbye. I don't know when to meet again." Yes, but just a few days after waking up from his deep sleep, Xiao Yang will set foot on the road again. He will go to the Western Wasteland. Only there can he get real experience. Compared with the Shilin region, the Western Wilderness region is the real purgatory of the Western region. As Jiu Li said before coming, there is a lifeless desert, the end of life and the beginning of death. Hehe, brother Luo Jin is joking. Although you and I are separated, do you still worry about not finding me with the power of your cloud-hidden pavilion? Smell speech, Xiao Yang is helpless to smile. Luo Jin is always like this. Usually he looks old and prudent, but he will play with you from time to time. Don't look at his face about to cry at the moment, God knows whether he is secretly laughing at something. Haha, Xiao Yang, you're wrong. I've decided that from today on, Union Pavilion will no longer be at the disposal of Luo Jin. After Xiao Yang leaves, your boy will go out to practice for me. His idol all day. What's he like? Xiao Yang's voice fell down, but Luo Lao on one side immediately laughed. The first half of the sentence surprised Xiao Yang, but the second half of the sentence, Luo Jin on the other side couldn't help but suddenly changed his face and hurriedly said to Luo Lao, "Grandpa, when did you decide again? Hey, how's it going?" It's very targeted. Old Luo He smiled, and Xiao Yang couldn't help laughing and crying with a treacherous smile. When Luo Jin heard this, the expression on his face was suddenly swept away. He stared at Luo Ao with a dull squint. He could see his unwillingness in his heart even if he didn't say it. Hey, little guy, if you don't make trouble with you, it's really time for you to go out and experience. After all, you can't stay under the wings of our old guys all the time. We can protect you for a while, but we can't protect you for a lifetime. One day, we will be too old to move. If something happens to us, No one can protect you anymore. Luo Laro spoke slowly. In the end, he couldn't help showing a helpless look on his face. When Luo Jin saw this, the laughing look on his face gradually disappeared and changed into a mature and steady look again. Seeing this, Luo nodded slightly and said with a smile, "Well, that's right. The mainland is very big. You have to go out to have a look and experience. You don't have to touch the edge of life. In short, I still say that everything must be based on your own life. Otherwise, it's a great advantage and you can't touch it. I told you to. Do you understand?" Luo Ao looked at the two people in front of him solemnly and said in a deep voice, "I understand. I see." Xiao Yang and Luo Jin almost spoke in unison. Seeing this, Luo Ao nodded, gave a light and signaled them to leave. Xiao Yang stepped out of the cloud-hidden pavilion in front of him, and Luo Jin's body also disappeared in the attic. When he saw that they left respectively, Luo Laro slowly took back his eyes and remained silent. He didn't know what he was thinking in his heart. "Fifth Master, can you really rest assured that you can let the young master go out to experience alone? After all, the western region is not more dangerous than the southern region. Here, it is much more dangerous than the southern region." Seeing several people leave, Zhongyi frowned and asked Luo Ao softly, "Hehe, Zhongyi, since you can think of this, I can't think of it." "You're right. Although the western regions are deserted and sparsely populated, the danger here is much greater than that in other regions, but that's why he can get the best experience here, which will be of endless benefits, disadvantages and advantages to him in the future. This is in direct proportion." Hearing Zhongyi's words, Luo nodded, took a deep breath, and then said with a smile, "But, after all, it's still too dangerous here. In addition, after the last incident, the four main doors have a grudge against me. Once the young master meets them, it's dangerous. In order to prevent accidents, I'd better follow the young master." Before Zhongyi's voice fell, Luo Ao waved his hand and interrupted him, saying, "You don't have to go. I'd better go myself. You stay and guard Lungsue City. No matter what, there can't be no one here. The movements of the four main gates must be monitored all the time. Now that Xiao Yang leaves Lungsue City, they must find out sooner or later. Once they make an action, they will bother you at that time. The fifth master is serious. These are the responsibilities of my subordinates. My subordinates must do their best." Upon hearing the speech, Zhongyi immediately bowed his hands to Laro Luo, who also waved his hands lightly, said something casually, and then sent him back. Then, Laro Luo walked slowly to the first-floor door of Union Pavilion and looked at all kinds of pedestrians in the street. His eyes narrowed. After a long time, he suddenly whispered in his mouth without knowing why, "The sludge of lotus is not removed, and the dirt of people is not removed." No one could hear the subtle voice of the words, but at the same time, Luo Ao's palm hidden under his sleeve robe was involuntarily held slowly, just a plain breath, but it did not move at all. Such a calm attitude almost made it impossible to detect the slightest waves. In the southern region, outside Qingyang City, a streamer like chasing the stars and the moon came from the distant sky at a high speed. It didn't fall down until it reached the top of a Qingfeng peak. It looked at the outline of the city in the distance with a kind of sigh. Compared with the wild ancient city, Qingyang City is undoubtedly too small, perhaps less than 1/5 of the former, but that's it. At the moment, this strong man is strong enough at the semi-imperial level. His purpose today is precisely here. Well, this is Qingyang City. The Liu family mentioned by brother Xiao Yang is here. Yes, this person is Qin Zhong, who came to Qingyang City at the request of Xiao Yanji. Because of some things, he had to delay for half a year before he came here. In this half a year, he naturally heard about the amazing things Xiao Yang did in the western regions. Therefore, he knew Xiao Yang's real name. However, this did not hinder his favor for Xiao Yang. He only knew that Xiao Yang saved his life several times and had a life-saving grace for him. Being a man should know his kindness and repay it. Naturally, he would not care too much about those small things. After confirming that the city below is Qingyang City, Qin Zhong secretly thought about the so-called Liu family in his heart. At the same time, he also explored the city below with his powerful soul power of 4-star and half-emperor. After a long time, Qin Zhong, who closed his eyes slightly, suddenly opened his eyes. A sense of surprise burst out in his heart. A look of surprise appeared on his old face. During his exploration just now, there was another heaven and earth in this small Qingyang city. At the same time, in Qingyang City, in a spacious courtyard, a young man in white who was sitting at a stone table talking and laughing with the two people around him suddenly changed his face, stood up fiercely, looked at the distant sky with a dignified face, and was where Qin Zhong was at the moment. Elder Bai Hua, what's the matter? What's the matter? Liu Huabai, the leader of the Liu family, and Liu Xincheng, the elder beside them, looked at each other. There was something unknown on their faces. The white birch was transformed by the Dan beast that Xiao Yan left in the Liu family at the beginning. Now, in the Liu family, it is usually transformed into a human form. It is the person with the highest status in the Liu family except the patriarch Liu Huabai and the elder Liu Xincheng. Of course, this is only normal. If no one is even the two of them hold a respectful attitude towards the white birch. Someone is coming. White birch stared at the distant sky outside Qingyang City. Her face was dignified, and her fighting spirit had been quietly raised to face all kinds of sudden changes. Hearing the speech, Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng looked stunned at first, then saw the deep and dignified look on Bai Hua's face, and their hearts immediately became nervous. Liu Huabai quickly looked in the direction Bai Hua was looking at, and asked in a deep voice, "Elder, are you from Qingyun Mansion again?" Since Xiao Yang left the Liu family, people from Qingyun Mansion have sent people to the Liu family 5 times in total. Among them, the last one has the strongest strength, and the strength of the team leader has reached the level of 1.5-star emperor. However, in the end, they still have no choice but to return. As for this time, Liu Huabai did not dare to imagine that if it was like that, the strength of this person would be more than 1.5-star emperor. I'm not sure. There's only one visitor. Moreover, he seems to be exploring something. If he's from Qingyun Mansion, he should come directly to Liu's house instead of doing these boring actions. Birch frowned, but slowly shook his head, but his dignified eyes never left the sky. If he's not from Qingyun Mansion, what is he doing here? There's nothing worthy of the attention of the semi-imperial strongman in a small city like ours. The elder Liu Xincheng also frowned, stroked his grey beard with one hand, and said in a low voice, "I don't know yet. I just hope he's just a passerby. Otherwise, I'm afraid even I can't stop him this time." The white birch said solemnly. The two of the Liu family nodded when they heard the speech. They also hoped so in their hearts. However, it's a pity that heaven is always unsatisfactory. Just after Bai Hua's words were spit out, Qin Zhong, as a 4.5-star emperor, stepped on the soles of his feet and walked up into the void, flying quickly towards Qingyang City. Coming. At Liu's residence, Bai Hua spoke solemnly to Liu Huabai on one side, then quickly flew over the sky and stood on the 10,000 feet of Qingyang City. Later, Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng also quickly followed. Now, Bai Hua represents the Liu family. They can't let Bai Hua go out to meet the enemy alone, but they are afraid to show up at home. While the white birch swept high into the sky, a black spot was approaching quickly beyond the distant sky. The faint smell made the white birch extremely dignified. When the figure entered Qingyang City, Bai Hua couldn't help taking a deep breath, stretched out a pair of white palms under her sleeve robe, hugged the figure and said, "I don't know who you are. What can I do for you?" The clear voice spread like a burst of thunder between the heaven and earth. In the Qingyang City below, everyone looked up at the sky at this moment. In their sight, the 3 white birches were impressively above them. At the same time, in their sight, there was a vague figure flying towards the white birch at an extremely fast speed. Seeing this scene, the Qingyang City below suddenly became lively. After what happened to the Liu family several times before, the city can roughly guess that Qingyun Mansion sent someone to come again. However, compared with the last time, the people of Qingyang City also held a compassionate attitude. They can still remember that the last time Liu Huabai fought with the leader of Qingyun Mansion, it was the most terrible battle they had ever seen in their life. Although Bai Hua lost in the end, fortunately, the Liu family was fine. But this time, it may not be so lucky. According to the speculation in the hearts of Qingyang City people, this time, the Liu family may really be in danger. Ha ha ha, sir, but Birch? Before the man arrived, the mighty laughter came like a burst of thunder. Listening to this voice, it seemed that the man had no malice. In the sky, the look on the white birch's face was slightly frozen. The faces of Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng behind him could not help showing a look of surprise. Why does this person seem to be coming at the white birch? For a moment, the birch quickly regained consciousness and arched his hand at the strange old man who had come within 100 feet, saying, "I am the birch, but who is your excellency?" Hearing the speech, Qin Zhong smiled brightly, but he didn't answer Bai Hua's question at first. Instead, he looked at Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng behind Bai Hua and said with a smile again, "Well, these two must be Liu Huabai, the master of the Liu family, and Liu Xincheng, the elder." As soon as they said this, Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng were shocked. They didn't dare to neglect it. They rushed forward and stood side by side with Bai Hua. At the same time, they hugged Qin Zhong and said in a respectful voice, "I've seen you, elder." In the face of a semi-imperial strongman who dared not be careless, even the white birch, the two of them were naturally very nervous. While talking, their bodies wrapped under the brocade robe could not help trembling slightly, and a cold sweat trickled down from their temples. "Ha ha, well, in that case, that's right, ha ha." Qin Zhong laughed and said that he was finally relieved. Although he came here half a year late, he naturally felt relieved as long as he saw that the people of the Liu family were all right. But Qin Zhong thought like this. But this was another meaning in Bai Hua's ears. When Bai Hua heard this, their faces became ugly. Hearing this, the other party was really from Qingyun Mansion. "Well, elder, what can I do now?" Liu Huabai said nervously to the birch. Liu Huabai took a deep breath. After a long time, he voiced to Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng, "Once I fight with him later, you'll evacuate some Liu people first. I'll hold him first. Remember, we must hurry as soon as possible. This guy's strength, in the 4-star-and-a-half Emperor, can't hold him too long with my current strength." "Master." Hearing the speech, Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng suddenly changed their faces and couldn't help but say to the surprised voice of White Birch. Liu Huabai and Bai Hua looked at Bai Hua with dignified eyes. From his words, they could hear a determination. Once they fight later, Bai Hua will definitely try her last strength and protect their Liu family from Qingyang City. "Stop talking and go." Bai Hua snapped a drink at Liu Huabai behind him, and then suddenly turned around. The fighting spirit gushed out of her body. With a wave of her big sleeve, a soft force pushed Liu Huabai to Qingyang City below, while she moved her body and looked at his Qin Zhong in amazement at the opposite face. "Qingyun Mansion, you are really immortal. Since you are looking for trouble, you don't have to talk nonsense. Fight." The white birch gave a sharp drink, waved his palm fiercely, and a long sword fell into his palm. The sword body shook and the fighting spirit overflowed. In an instant, the white birch had come to Qin Zhong. He waved a long sword and stabbed it into Qin Zhong's neck. "You!" Qin Zhong was suddenly shocked, and his heart was even more unclear. Why did this guy have to fight with him when he first came here? They haven't met each other, let alone have any complaints, which made him feel a little oppressed in his heart. But without waiting for him to speak, the white birch's sword had come to him and could not allow him to relax anymore. Qin Zhong was a 4-star-and-a-half Emperor. Therefore, Bai Hua did not dare to keep his hand at all when he started. In this way, his attack naturally became more rapid and fierce. In addition, Bai Hua suddenly took Qin Zhong by surprise. For a moment, it also made Qin Zhong feel like being attacked from both sides. At the same time, it also made him unable to explain his real intention. In addition, Qin Zhong was afraid of hurting the white birch, which made it more difficult for him to have a chance. Bai Hua saw that the 4-star-and-a-half Emperor in front of her had no power to parry, which also raised a sense of doubt in Bai Hua's heart. Under such endless fighting, Qin Zhong finally couldn't stand it. He couldn't fight with Bai Hua here all the time. He had to stop this misunderstanding by force. This guy, a 1-star-and-a-half Emperor, how to shoot is endless. Alas, there's no way. In order to quell the misunderstanding, I can only wrong you. Qin Zhong sighed helplessly. He didn't want to be misunderstood by Bai Hua as the person of Qingyun Mansion for no reason. Drink. With a sharp drink, Qin Zhong's retreating body suddenly stood in the void. With a fierce shock, a bullying pressure belonging to the 4-star-and-a-half Emperor spread rapidly from his body. Clenched with both fists, the thick earthy yellow fighting spirit quickly condensed on the fist, moved, and fought with the oncoming white birch again. Bang! 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 After dozens of rounds, Qin Zhong finally smashed the long sword in Bai Hua's hand with one punch. At the same time, the giant force in his hand shook Bai Hua hundreds of feet away, giving both sides a chance to breathe for a short time. Birch struggled to stay in shape, and did not dare to be careless in her heart, for fear that the latter would come forward again. But just as he looked up, Qin Zhong on the opposite side took back his fighting spirit, looked at him helplessly, and gasped slightly in his mouth. After a long time, he slowly opened his mouth in Bai Hua's stunned eyes and said, "Xiao Yang asked me to come to the Liu family in Qingyang City. People of all colors are walking on the bustling streets, and the flow of people is constantly pouring into the Lungsue city, which makes the Lungsue city more lively near noon. When Xiao Yang left Union Pavilion, he went all the way to the west of the city. To the west, it was the direction of the Western Wasteland. Before leaving the cloud-hidden pavilion, Luo Jin gave Xiao Yang a base map of the Shilin region. The map marked the major cities and vertical and horizontal mountains of the Shilin region in detail, especially the location of the 4 main gates. Its sphere of influence was also clearly marked on the map. Presumably, this is also Luo Jin's purpose, in the hope that Xiao Yang will not enter the trap of the 4 major gates, which can be regarded as a precaution for Xiao Yang. In addition, Xiao Yang also learned from the map that if he wanted to go to the Western Wasteland, at present, there were only 2 ways to choose. According to the map, the only way from the periphery of Shilin Domain to the Western Wasteland Domain is blocked by human cities and a mountain range inhabited by Warcraft, which is also the main power division of Shilin Domain. Those human cities, Xiao Yang at this time naturally dare not touch easily. Once he shows up, I'm afraid the 4 main doors will spare no effort to chase him. Even if it wasn't for Tianjua Steppe, they would never let Xiao Yang go easily. In addition, most of the cities where human beings live are also labeled with 4 major doors, and there are even several settlements close to Warcraft. It is impossible to pass between them. Through Luo Jin, Xiao Yang also learned that the mountain range inhabited by Warcraft is called Shilin Mountain Range. Although there are no people from the 4 main gates, the danger in Shilin Mountain Range is no lower than that of the outside world. According to Luo Jin, there are many super Warcraft at the level of Fighting Emperor in Shilin Mountains. Those Warcraft have turned into human form. Although they don't like killing on weekdays, once you break into his territory, he won't show mercy. As for the half-emperor level Warcraft, Xiao Yang doesn't care anymore. Xiao Yang is confident that with the power he now sits on, he is fearless to anyone. Therefore, for this choice, Xiao Yang also chose to go directly to Shilin Mountains. In Xiao Yang's opinion, compared with the 4 main gates, he can get water like a fish in the Shilin Mountains. After choosing the target, Xiao Yang stopped procrastinating and moved quickly through the crowd towards the west of Lungsue city. But on the way of flying, Xiao Yang could not help frowning slightly. Just now, he felt a few faint breaths sweeping over him. Although the breath was very weak, Xiao Yang still noticed the slightest coldness with the terrible soul power of the second-class herbalist. Oh, it's still in Lungsue city. It's already a little restless. Aware of this, Xiao Yang raised a sneer at the corners of his lips and quickly glanced behind him with the remaining light from the corners of his eyes. Sure enough, at the end of Xiao Yang's line of sight, there were several fuzzy small black spots. Those black spots were the people who had just explored Xiao Yang's breath. When Xiao Yang just woke up a few days ago, Luo Jin had already told him about the 4 major gates chasing him everywhere, and even the reward and portrait wanted of the 4 major gates told Xiao Yang word for word. At first, hearing these news, Xiao Yang couldn't help being stunned for a moment, but after that, the look on his face quickly turned into a gloomy one. Since the 4 major sects wanted to kill him so much, Xiao Yang couldn't wait to die. What's more, Xiao Yang is wanted all over the western regions. The 4 main sects have done this. Obviously, they want to force Xiao Yang to show up. If Xiao Yang doesn't show up, people will think he is a person who is afraid of things. Can Xiao Yang's mind, how can others buckle this hat in vain? Hey, what a big 4-door. Your move is really sinister. However, if you want to catch me, you have to see how many kilograms you have. With a sneer, Xiao Yang's flying speed accelerated sharply, and in the distance behind him, several figures could not help frowning slightly, looked at each other, bit their teeth, and quickly caught up. In a short moment, Xiao Yang has gradually moved away from the scope of Lungsue city, and those figures are still chasing after them, but when they reach an unmanned mountain, they can't help frowning slightly. Because Xiao Yang, who was flying in front of them a moment ago, just now disappeared into the void like a fog. Several people in the sky frowned. They couldn't understand what was going on. How could Xiao Yang disappear so strangely? What surprised them most was that as Xiao Yang turned into a fog and disappeared, even his breath disappeared from heaven and earth. Damn, where the hell has this boy gone? Does it mean that he found us, so he has fled here with the speed of Tianjua Steppe? It's not impossible. Although his strength is not weak, we have 6 people and 8.5 emperors after all. Even if he has a puppet and the Thunder Dragon to help, he can't be our opponent. Among the 6 people, an old man in a black robe, with his hands behind his back, listened to the words of several old people around him, nodded slightly, and carefully analyzed Xiao Yang's inner thoughts. However, just after the words in the old man's mouth were spit out, between heaven and earth, there was a dull cold laughter from nowhere. Oh, really? I really want to see. How many rounds can you hold together with the strength of 6.5 emperors? The voice fell. In the face of the 6 old men in the sky, Xiao Yang's body slowly appeared in the void 10 feet behind them. At the next moment, when the 6.5 emperors turned around, they clearly saw Xiao Yang. At the same time, the look on their faces changed again. They couldn't help screaming. Xiao Yang. It's me. Xiao Yang replied with a faint smile on his lips. Xiao Yang, you're too arrogant. Although you stopped the attack of the strong fighting emperor 6 months ago, it was only when they left their hands, but now it's different. All 6 of me are 8.5 emperors. Even if you have your puppet and pet protection, you can't protect you. Seeing Xiao Yang, the old man in black robe who spoke earlier was also slightly surprised in his heart. When his throat rolled, his face changed into a cruel look again and shouted at Xiao Yang in a deep voice. Whether it's arrogance or not, let's try first and then comment. Well, 6 people, plus you, the 8.5 emperor who died in my hand should have 10 fingers. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang smiled faintly, and then the next moment, the white palm suddenly waved in the void, and the fighting spirit surged wildly. With Xiao Yang's mind falling, the black ruler emerged inch by inch in Xiao Yang's hand. Combined with the rendering of different fire, the Xian heavy ruler looked very powerful at the moment. As the giant ruler fell heavily in Xiao Yang's hand, a turbulent momentum brought up the cold wind pressure, just like a warcraft roar, whistling out from the sky. With the appearance of Shenchong ruler, the gorgeous fire suddenly rose at Xiao Yang's feet. Then the next moment, it turned into a fire circle and swept rapidly in all directions. The field of inflammation. When the field was opened, Xiao Yang's momentum was more surging, and his eyes were full of strange fire. A strong sense of war broke out from Xiao Yang. Come on, let me see how strong 6.5 emperors can be. With a wild and heroic laugh, Xiao Yang held a heavy ruler in his hand and moved, so he took the lead in rushing towards the 6.5 emperors. I want to die. I dare to face our 6.5 emperors alone. I really don't know how to live or die. Seeing that Xiao Yang didn't even summon the North King Xiaojin, the old man in black robe, who was led by him, immediately sent out an angry hum from his mouth. Xiao Yang's arrogant behavior really made their hearts very angry. Since he takes the initiative to die, it's better to take him down at one time and send him to the hands of the 4 main doors. Hey, the reward belongs to us. Among the 6 people, an old man with dark skin looked at Xiao Yang who was shooting at them, but his mouth gave a disdainful sneer and said. Hearing the speech, the other people also nodded greedily. No matter how many pairs Xiao Yang is at the moment, as long as he can win him, the rewards offered by the 4 main doors will belong to them. For this, the 4 8.5 emperors will not be polite. Go. As the old man uttered a thunderous drink from his mouth, several other people around him immediately nodded together, and then the fighting spirit in his body surged out at the moment, turning into fighting pillars of different colors and rushing into the sky. Immediately, several people moved abruptly, their weapons flashed out in their hands, and rushed to the oncoming Xiao Yang. Finally, only the black-robed old man followed closely after hesitating for a moment. Although he was not afraid of Xiao Yang, he always felt a sense of danger. Although this faint feeling of danger did not make him afraid, it still made him feel a little uneasy in his heart. But when his eyes fell on Xiao Yang, the uneasy feeling disappeared without intuition. It seemed that the dangerous smell didn't come from Xiao Yang. Boom! The broad giant ruler collided with the 6 people in front of the bully. With the sound of gold and iron percussion, the fighting spirit attached to the weapons of both sides suddenly broke out at this moment. The fierce fighting wave suddenly swept away from the collision between the giant ruler and the 6 weapons. Xiao Yang and the 6.5 emperors also shook their bodies and quickly retreated back at this moment. The 6.5 emperors were still okay, but they stopped at a distance of more than 10 feet behind when they shook their bodies. Looking at Xiao Yang, under the joint efforts of the 6.5 emperors, he was slightly embarrassed and flew back nearly 100 feet, which was enough to stabilize his body. Facing 6.5 emperors, it's still too hard for Xiao Yang today. Xiao Yang, it seems that you can only show off your tongue. Today, you are destined to be taken away by us. The dark old man took a step forward, and a powerful momentum belonging to the 8.5 emperor gathered in front of him and swept towards Xiao Yang. Smelling the speech, Xiao Yang's plain face didn't change much. The other party said well. 6.5 emperors really embarrassed him. However, Xiao Yang is not a person who can be treated with common sense. If anyone dares to underestimate Xiao Yang, the price he pays may be the pain of his life. It seems that it can only be solved one by one. Well, let me see where the limit is with my current strength. A thought flashed in his heart. Xiao Yang immediately laughed. He held the Shenchong ruler tightly in his palm. The fighting spirit in his body poured madly at the moment and filled the interior of the Shenchong ruler. The dark surface of the ruler and those mysterious lines were also gradually filled with different fire. 7 broken sky ruler. At the moment when the thunder-like roar fell from his mouth, Xiao Yang's body suddenly rushed out and rushed to the 6-8.5 Emperor's opposite. Don't think too much of yourself. Let's go together. As long as we clean up this boy, we can choose the Imperial Dan skill. In the future, there will be a world for us in the western region, too. The dark old man waved his palm forward and shouted again. When his voice fell, several people around him couldn't help but look greedy again. They looked at each other, and then nodded fiercely. When their fighting spirit rose, they rushed away to the oncoming Xiao Yang again. In an instant, the distance between the two sides was more than half week. The distance between Xiao Yang and the 6-8.5 Emperors was less than 10 feet. Such a close distance, coupled with the fact that both sides are semi-imperialist and strong, the invisible pressure condensed by the momentum of the whole body has collided together first, and Xiao Yang naturally fell into the disadvantage with one enemy against 6. Ha ha, arrogant boy, you are destined to pay the price for your actions at the moment. Die. Seeing that Xiao Yang has revealed his disadvantage, the 8.5 Emperor who spoke earlier once again sneered. His words were full of disdain for Xiao Yang. Unwarranted arrogance, but you have to pay a price. Space tent, up. With a low drink, Xiao Yang's body rushed forward, but in the incredible eyes of the 6-8.5 Emperors, it suddenly disappeared into the sky. 6 tabernacles. This move was only used by Xiao Yang half a year ago. Therefore, few people know it. Unfortunately, the 8.5 Emperors in front of Xiao Yang know nothing about it. The next moment, when the 6-8.5 Emperors reacted, Xiao Yang's body suddenly appeared in front of the dark old man among the 6 people. In the exploration of Xiao Yang's soul power, his strength is the weakest among the 6 people. However, he has just broken through the 8.5 Emperor. Therefore, he hesitates every time. He first encourages others on the side, and then he will follow up. Therefore, in Xiao Yang's eyes, this guy is a real villain, or a weak person. Although Xiao Yang's cultivation level is not higher than that of the former, in terms of mentality, Xiao Yang is a strong man in this respect. In this situation, the strong man should have no mercy on the weak. Therefore, at the moment when the dark old man reacted, Xiao Yang's giant ruler fell on his chest. 7 broken sky feet, 1 foot. Feet fall, people die. This video will end here.